What's up out there, all my fellow Fix It employees? Welcome back to another episode of How to Satisfactory. This series where I take you from the very humble beginnings of landing on this godless, resource-rich planet to building the perfect factory to please our alien overlords. And today's episode is one you guys have been waiting for. It is finally the day we are going to start working on our manufacturing plant. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on that. Before we head over to the construction site, let's go over here to our storage bins. We're going to grab a bunch of concrete. I mean a bunch, just like load up on it, just as much as you can carry. Maybe a couple of things of iron plates as well, because concrete does need these when we're doing our foundations. So from that, we are going to be heading out to the rear of the factory over here, where we previously made this line of foundations going from the factory here all the way over here. This way we could kind of line things up with where we built our truck depot down here. Alright, so once you get to the end of your walkway, you should be down here where your truck station is, and you want to make sure that your walkway kind of comes all the way down. You see these little tiny cliffs right here where the land kind of juts out right there. You want that to kind of line up with that. So if everything's done correctly, it should already be, but you may have to extend it out just maybe one or two more, or shorten it up. But what we're going to do is we are going to take a 1 meter foundation, and we're going to come down. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3 right here, so to the third one, and we're just going to stretch that out by 2. And then we are going to then add another one onto that, so like that. And then grab that, and we're going to make that into a 4 meter foundation right there, because we need to raise this floor that we're about to build up a little bit. We need it to go over top of those rocks over there, so it's got to be raised up some. So that's why we're going to do a 4 meter here. So let's jump up on top of this. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to grab these 1 meter foundations. We're going to extend that over 2. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go 3 over this way. So 1, 2, 3. So that should be 6 total foundations. 1, 2, 3, 4 we're standing on, 5, and 6. Now we're going to come down here, and we want this to stretch out about 10. Now counting the one we were already standing on plus the 10 we just added, that's 11, and we need this to be a total of about 18, so that we need about 7 more. So I'm going to stretch this out to about 7 right there. Okay. And then this tree is kind of a little bit in the way, but come down here to the end of where this platform ends. And then we're going to stretch this out 5. There we go. All right. So that's going to make this 18 by 6 now. And then the rest of this is just going to be expanding this and just putting this together and making this a complete floor. Alright, so now you should have a platform that is 18 by 6 in shape. So just double check all your parameters. Once you have that, what we're going to do at this point is we're going to go up another 3. So I'm going to grab this, make that into a 4 meter foundation, and just put 3 of these on top of each other like so. There we go. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to grab one of these 1 meter foundations. We're just going to tack that onto the edge of that and bring that over. And then we're going to add an entire other floor on top of this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to build 3 total floors. The first floor here is going to be our main floor where the smelting is done. Also, like products such as screws are going to be made, as well as steel. The next floor up is going to be a logistics floor, which will be much thinner. And then we're going to have the top floor, which is where our manufacturers are going to be. So let's go ahead and finish this up real quick. Alright, so now we have our second floor finished. We need to get up on top of that. My favorite way to do so is with a ladder. So let's go ahead and build one of those. There we go. Attach the ladder right there, and then just bring it down. And we can just kind of jump and climb on top of that. There we go. Now we need this to be about 3 high. So what we're going to do is grab one of these foundations once again. We're going to make this into a 4 meter, like so. And then grab one of these 1 meter and place it right next to it so it lines up, not on top, but like right next to it, just like that. And then run that across. Once again, about 5, and that should make 6 total. And then we're going to run this all the way down. And what we're going to do is we're just going to build this third floor. So we have the bottom floor, again, for smelting and other stuff. We have this middle floor for running some lines, some conveyor belts and stuff. That's going to be for our manufacturers. And then we have our top floor, which is going to be the actual manufacturers. So now all we have to do is just go ahead and finish this floor up right here. And finishing that. There we go. All right, and there's our 3 floors that we're going to be working with for our manufacturing processing plant. All right, and here we go. We have all 3 floors now done, and this is going to be the base, or the foundation, if you will, for our manufacturing plant. Next up is going to be actually placing down our machines, but we can't really do that just yet because we haven't actually got the manufacturers yet. So let's head down here. First, since we're already here, let's go grab some rubber and some plastic from our containers over here at our trucking station. Gonna need some of that. Gonna need about 200 plastic, I believe, but I'm just gonna grab about 2 stacks of each one of these, and 200 rubber, but again, I'm gonna grab 2 stacks of that. And then let's head back to our hub terminal. Okay, now that we're back at our hub terminal, let's go ahead and check this out, and we're gonna go to tier 5. And you're going to see industrial manufacturing in here. So let's click on that and take a look at what we're going to get. So first of all, the biggest thing is we're going to get the manufacturer itself. This is a much larger assembling machine. We're going to be getting a truck, which is kind of like the tractor, but it holds a lot more. We're going to be able to make computers now. So that's something we're probably going to be in the next couple of episodes. And modular engines and adaptive control units. These 2 things are something we're going to need to make in order to get to the next phase. So those will also be coming soon. But the main thing we're looking at today is the manufacturer out of this. So in order to unlock the industrial manufacturing tier, what we need is 100 motors, 200 plastic, 200 rubber, and 1,000 cable. I myself actually already have everything except the cable, so let's go ahead and grab some of that from our storage bins. Alright, so we're going to need 1,000 cables, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab 3 more stacks of these. Actually, I'll grab 1 more because that's going to give me some extra, because we're going to need 1,000, and then I'll just need some on me, so there we go. Also, if you need the motors for this, go ahead and grab those as well, or anything else that you need that you have in storage here. And then let's head back up to the hub. Alright, back at the hub, let's go ahead and select that milestone, and then let's just throw every single thing we have in there, all the rubber, all the plastic, and all the cable. And then, as always, push the big red button. Alright, there we go. We've unlocked industrial manufacturing now, which means we can now make our manufacturers. And what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and make sure we have everything we need in order to complete our construction floors. So, if we open up our build menu, we go into production. We can see the manufacturers right here under our manufacturing machines. And we're going to need about 3 of these. So let's go ahead and add that to our to-do list. There we go, 3 of those. And then we are going to need about 8 assemblers total for this project. So go ahead and add those. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There we go. And then over here in our to-do list is everything we're going to need in order to build all of this. So I'm going to need some heavy modular frames. We're going to need some more cable and some motors. You guys also may need more of this stuff. So let's just go ahead and get that. Now, the heavy modular frames, we can't actually make those yet. That's actually what we're building towards, is the manufacturers we're going to use to make heavy modular frames, because you need it just can't be done on anything except the manufacturer. However, you can do it in here. So we're going to have to make our 30 by hand. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. So if we come down through here, there we go. The heavy modular frame, you're going to need regular modular frames, you're going to need steel pipes, you're going to need encased industrial beams, and you're going to need screws. Lots and lots of screws. So what I'm going to do is make sure that I have enough of this stuff to make the 30 that we need. And let's just grab those out of the storage systems. Alright, I've grabbed enough material now in order to make enough heavy modular frames, so I'm just going to go ahead and start constructing those by hand now. Alright, I've got my 30 heavy modular frames. Only thing left I need now is motors, and then I will have everything in order to build all my machines. So I'm just going to grab those. So once you have all your supplies, let's head all the way back over there to our construction site. Alright, back down here at our construction site, I am on the very top floor that we built. And we have all the material we need. It is time to start placing down our manufacturers and our assemblers. So what we're going to do is we're going to come all the way over here to this side, facing the truck station down here. we're going to go back 1 foundation, so right here, and we're going to count over 4 of these. So 1, 2 foundations, 3 foundations, 4. And then between 4 and 5 right here, this is where we're going to place our first manufacturer. We're going to come back about 3, and then right here where these 2 foundations meet, between the 4th and the 5th one, we are going to place down our first manufacturer. So what we want to do is we want to get the very last input right there, as you can see. So the inputs are going to be facing us, and we want to put that right on the line. So the guideline for where the machine is, put that right on that block. But we want the input to be right there as well. So facing right in the middle of that. So right there. So as you can see, the input right up against the edge of these 3 foundations, and place directly in the center between 4 and 5, and place that down. There we go. There's our first manufacturer. All right, so our next manufacturer, what we're going to do is come down 2 foundations. So this is the first one, 1, 2, and we're going to start on this foundation right here, the 3rd one. Let's go ahead and copy that. Let's line it up using the guidelines. So we should have that in there. Let's see, where you at? There's the guidelines right there, and we want to make this one right in the middle between these 2 foundations. So like right there. So you can see these 2 foundations going up here, that line right in the middle. We want this one to be centered directly. So right there. Alright, as you can see, right there is the middle of the manufacturer right between this one. So 1, 2, and then right on the edge there, and then over here. So now we're just going to do the same thing on this side, but to make this easier, what we're going to do is just go all the way down to the very edge down here. Alright, so now that we're on this end down here, we are going to count backwards. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 foundations right here, and in between these 2 right here. So I'm going to copy that, and we're going to do the exact same thing where we're going to first line them up. Should have our guideline right there. Yep, I see the guideline, and then we want to line that input right there in between these 2 foundations right there. Alright, so this last one right here, if we have a belt going into that, it would go right up in between these 2 foundations there. And we should have the exact amount of space in between each of these. This one directly in the center of our platform, and these 2 are down on each edge. So next up is going to be placing our assemblers down. So I came all the way back down here where we started, down on this edge facing our factory once again, and we're going to count 2 of these over. So 1, 2, and in between block 2 and block 3 is where we're going to place our first assembler. So let's go ahead and grab that real quick and place it down again with the inputs facing us like that. We're going to come out 2 from the side, so like that, and find that edge. So right there you can see it's lined up in the middle between the 2 blocks and right on the edge of that block. So then we're going to come back 2 more steps. So I'm just going to line this up. My mouse is being kind of a pain right now, but get where I need you to go. Every single time I place it, it pops back. Alright, but anyway, we're going to go from there, and then we're just going to come back 2 steps. So right there, and place it down. And then our next one's going to go right next to that. So, I mean, literally right next to it. No space in between whatsoever. I mean, there's a little bit of space here, but when you look at where the guidelines are, where the object can be placed, there's no space. All right, so that's going to be our first 2 assemblers. All right, so we've got those first 2 placed. Now we're going to place the rest of them, and the easiest way to do that is going to be using floor holes to line these up. So what I'm going to do is just kind of take this right here. We're going to find the middle of this foundation right in front of where it goes into our first manufacturer here. So let's see, that looks like that's going to be right here, and then line that up with that. That's perfect. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put these down through here in front of these right here, and in front of these right here. We're going to keep this all in a line all the way down through here. And then place our last one right here in front of this assembler. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to come down here between the first and second manufacturer. We're going to take this floor hole, and you see how there's like a gap right there. Well, if you look at this one, see how there's a gap between these 2 that's just big enough for 1 floor hole. So we want to make that here. So that's going to put our next floor hole right here on this foundation line. There we go. And that's going to make that easy enough to take this assembler, bring it over here. We can see the guidelines lining it up with the rest of the assemblers there, right there, and then place it so that it lines up with the floor hole right there. Perfect. And then right there. And then we're going to grab this and we're going to place this one right next to it. Again, you can see they're lining up. Like if I move it over, I can't move it any further. So just right next to that one. Like that. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to place our floor hose once more. So there we go. Come over here to our manufacturer and put them in line down through here. And then we're going to do the same thing down here. So right here you can see there's a floor hole here that would go, but we're going to bring this over 2 spots right there. And then we can just line that up once again right there. And right there. And finish our floor holes here in front of these. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to place this in front of the manufacturer inputs. Alright, now we're going to come down here to this. We're going to grab this assembler. We're going to basically do the same thing we did with when we started. So we're going to come down here. We're going to go in between. So first foundation, second foundation, and in between the second and the third. We're going to bring this back until it lines up with the guidelines. There's our first one. And then right there, I then place these in like so. And there we go. Alright, so now we have all 8 assemblers in. We have all 3 manufacturers. We've got all of our floor holes lined up so that everything's going to go in here. Next in is just going to take the conveyor lifts. And we're going to place these this way. And they're going to go into the assemblers here like this. So I'll just place those in there like that. And then when we get down here to the manufacturer, we're going to turn them. And again, make sure your input is facing towards the machine. So they're going to come out of this conveyor lift and go into the manufacturer. Now, just do all of this all the way down through here for every machine. So we're just going to place these like this. 4 for the manufacturer. And then into our assemblers. Like that. Rinse, wash, and repeat. Alright, so now I have all of our conveyor lifts in. Everything is lined up. If you look down this way towards all of our machines, you should see everything is lined up all the way down through here. And let's just go ahead and connect up our conveyor belts like so. And then down here for these as well. So we'll just connect that into these. And then just do this for every single one of our machines. So we are almost done here on the top floor with all of our assemblers and with our manufacturers and all the conveyor belts and stuff. However, I noticed while I was placing all the belts and things that down here on this side, when I placed these first 2 assemblers down here, or last 2 assemblers, depending on how you look at it, that I sort of messed up when I was placing them. And right before I placed it, like I had it lined up, and then right before I placed it, it went backwards on me. And I thought about not even including this part in the video, but I thought, well, maybe you guys also made the same mistake because you were following what I was saying or just kind of watching what I was doing instead of what I was saying. But we're going to fix this real quick. So we're going to come down here to this side and we're going to line those up better. So there we go. So you should have your guidelines there to show you where to place them. So I had them here. And then right before I placed it, it went back on me and I said to put it there. So what we're going to do is make sure it's lined up with all the other assemblers down through here. And we will do the same thing right here as well. There we go. All right, now just put your conveyor belts into these. All right, so now all of these are lined up much better and everything is fixed. So next we're going to come all the way back down here to the beginning of the building with our first assemblers and manufacturer. Let's take a look at this manufacturer. So hit E to configure it. Now what we're going to be making in this entire factory, this whole factory is going to be doing nothing but heavy modular frames. So let's go ahead and click on that here. And let's take a look at that. So one manufacturer can make 2 heavy modular frames every minute. So with 3 of these, that means we're going to be making 6 per minute. That's right. This whole huge factory, all of these machines and everything else we're going to be doing is only for 6 of these a minute. It's a slow process that requires a ton of parts. So let's head back in here and look at what we're going to need. So you're going to need 10 modular frames per minute. You're going to need 30 steel pipes per minute. You're going to need 5, or actually 10 encased industrial beams per minute, and a total of 200 screws per minute. Now that one right there is the big one, because 200 screws per minute times 3 is 600 screws. And that's not even to mention the screws we're going to need for making reinforced plates. For the most part, we're going to be making every single piece that we're going to need in this one factory, except for the encased industrial beams. We'll be making those down at our main factory and running those up. Now, our main factory will also be outputting some of the other parts, such as the maybe some screws, possibly, maybe some modular frames, but it's not going to get enough down here. So we're just going to make everything we need down here for the most part. All right, let's go and take a look at these two assemblers right here. So if we go into this, what we're going to be making with these first two are reinforced iron plates using the basic standard reinforced iron plate recipe. If you have alternates, which I have like one here, which is a pretty good alternate, but we don't want to introduce copper into this at all because that's just going to be a pain. So we're just going to be making these. This is actually fine for what we're going to need. It does require screws, which means we're going to need a total of close to about 1,000 screws altogether. But yeah, it's going to make exactly what we need perfect. So we're going to need 5 per minute. And since when we're making the rest of the stuff down here for our modular frames, we're going to need reinforced plates for that. And each of these requires like something like 5. So yeah, so we're just go over here to this one, and again, the basic reinforced iron plate recipe, which is going to require iron plates and screws. Now we're going to come down here to this one. So these 4 assemblers in the middle of our factory are going to be using a different recipe. So we're going to be making modular frames here. Now I'm going to take a look at this recipe. So not the basic modular frame recipe, but you're going to need an alternate recipe called steeled frame. If you don't have this yet, then I would suggest going to get it. You got to find it. Go find a hard drive, and hopefully you get it out of it if you don't already have it. I did post on my YouTube community feed that this would be needed. So, but just in case some of you guys haven't gotten it yet, that's fine. You'll be able to still go grab that. You can either pause the video and try to find it now, but I would say just wait until after the video, because this video is going to be divided into 2 parts, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to kind of go find that before the next video. So, but this is the one we're going to be using, steeled frames, which makes, let's see, 3 per minute, I believe. Let me take a look here. So if we choose this, yeah, 3 modular frames every minute. And you can see here that I am using power shards in this to fully output 7.5 per minute. And this is going to be required. So you're going to need a lot of power shards for everything in this factory. Specifically, you've got 4 machines that are going to need 3 power shards each. So 4 times 3 is, 12. 12. So you're going to need at least 12 just for these 4 machines here. So like I said, 7.5 per minute. That's 7.5 and 7.5. That's times 2 is 15. But if you look at our manufacturer again over here, you will see that it is going to need 10 per minute, and we have 3 of these. So 10, 10, and 10 is 30. Therefore, 15 and 15 are 30. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our modular frames in these 4 assemblers here in the middle, and then we're going to output that back into the line so that our manufacturers can do it. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, we just need to kind of take a look here and get these. So we know that we're going to need reinforced iron plates and steel pipes. So the only thing that we're going to need screws for is going to be our machines making the plates and our machines, our manufacturers here. So what we're going to do, let's drop down underneath the floor here. All right, so under the floor here, you can see all of our floor holes are all lined up perfectly down through the middle. What we're going to do is we're going to take 2 different lines, bring it up from the floor below us, and then we're going to run them down each side, following this line for between the 2 foundations here and here. One side, this side over here, is going to be an entire line just for screws. Like I said, we're going to need about 1,000 screws, close to it, per minute for all of these machines. We're going to need a lot of screws coming down through here. So yeah, it's going to require a bit of work. So everything on this side is going to be screws. This side is going to be everything else. This is going to be industrial beams, steel pipes, reinforced iron plates, the modular frames we're going to need. Everything else is going to run down this side. So if we remember, our top machine, our first machine right here, is going to be making reinforced iron plates, which needs screws and regular plates. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead and take one conveyor lift, place it down here, and we're going to turn this one this way towards us here. Because like I said, screws are going to be coming down this way, and we need some screws for this first machine. So that one will be doing that. And not this one here, but because this one we're going to turn the other way. This is going to grab iron plates from the line on this side right here. And we have another machine here, which is going to be making our reinforced iron plates. So again, we're going to turn this one this way to grab screws. And we're going to turn this one this way to grab the basic iron plates. Now we have our next 4 floor hose here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is our manufacturer. Our manufacturer needs industrial beams. It's going to need, it needs a bunch of stuff, but mostly it needs some screws as well. So since we know it needs screws, it doesn't really matter which one of these 4 that you use. I'm going to use this first one just to make it easy to remember that I've already got that one knocked out. So there we go. So that one will grab the screws here on this side. Then we're going to turn the other 3 floor holes the other way, like that. Alright, so that will grab the other 3 parts. Now we're going to come down here to these next 4 right here. So this is going to be the one that is going to be making our modular frames. So it doesn't require any screws at all. So we're just going to take these 4 here, and we're going to turn them this way, like that. These next 4, right above us, is located a manufacturer. So our first one, right there, to grab screws. And our next 3 will turn the opposite way. So that way, and that way. Now we have our machines here that are, again, making the modular frames. So we can turn these 2 this way, and these 2 this way. And then we have our 3rd manufacturer above us here. So we will turn this one this way to grab the screws, and then we turn these other 3 back this way, like so. Now that just leaves our last 4 hose down here on the end. So again, these 2 machines above us here, these 2 assemblers, are going to be making the reinforced iron plates, which means they are going to need screws. So what we'll do is we'll turn this one this way, and this one this way, and the other 2 will turn that way. Alright, so next up is going to be adding some smart splitters into here. We're going to do this side first just to make this easy. So I'm going to grab our smart splitters. There we go, smart splitter. And I'm just going to take it, put it right on that line. And now since the line is going to be coming from here and going all the way down that way, the movement's going to be this direction. So we want the input right here. All right, and line that up with our conveyor lift right there. And then we're going to do this for every single one of these that is facing this direction. If you see a conveyor lift that is facing this direction, then put a smart splitter on it and match it up so that everything works. All right, placing the last one down here. All right, and then once I get this last one placed, what we're going to do is I'm going to make sure that I do connect them together like that. We have to put a conveyor belt between the splitter and the lift right there. And we're going to go into and configure our smart splitter. So on this side, what it's going to be, our center is going to be overflow, and our last one here is going to be screws. There we go. And nothing to the left. Now you're going to configure each and every one of these on this side the same way. Once again, smart splitter, overflow to the center, screws to the right. And don't forget to place your belt in there. Now, just do the rest of these on this side like that. And here's a quick tip for you. Once you already have one configured, walk up to it where you see press E to configure a smart splitter and hit Control C on your keyboard, and you'll see it pop up and say setting copied. Move down here to the next one, and once you see that, hit E to configure a smart splitter, hit Control V, and you'll see setting pasted. And if you go in and look at it, look. So what you're doing is you're using the basic Windows copy and paste commands to copy the settings in the Smart Splitter down to each one of these. Now you can go ahead and connect up your Smart Splitters with conveyor belts all the way down the line, like so. Once all your Smart Splitters are in place, it's time to start programming each one. So our first one right here, again, above us is going to be the machine making the reinforced plates. We're getting screws already, so we just need regular iron plates. So let's go ahead and set this one up. Overflow in the middle, and then to the left is going to be iron plates. And then we can just control copy that one, control C, head down here to this one since it's the same thing, and control V on that one. Now, the next set, these three right here are all going to be going into a manufacturer. So this one is getting the screws, and then these three are going to need the other machines. So overflow in the middle. All of these are going to be overflow in the middle. And then whichever one you want to take off here. So we have to have three different other pieces than screws. So encased industrial beams will be our first one. Sure, that will work. And then we're going to come up here to the next one. Overflow, and steel pipes will be our other piece we need here. And then moving on to the next one, overflow, and this one's going to need modular frames. Not the heavy, just the regular modular frames. Alright, so these next four are going to go up to our assemblers above us that are making our modular frames. So we are going to need, let's see, overflow and reinforced iron plates. Alright, and then this one is going to need, set that to overflow, and steel pipes. There we go. Alright, and same thing on these two. So the first one is going to be our reinforced iron plates. There we go, overflow. And I'll just copy this one, control C and control V. There we go. All right, now we're back to our machine, our manufacturer again. So screws, and then industrial, encased industrial beams. There we go, overflow. Next one's going to be overflow, and this one is going to be the steel pipes again on that one. All right, go on to the next one, and overflow in the middle, and this one is going to be our modular frames. Back to the next four again, which is our two assemblers above us. So overflow in the middle. And this one is going to be the reinforced iron plates. And this one is going to be our steel pipes. Overflow and steel pipes. There we go. Next to control V, the reinforced iron plates into that. And control copy. And that's going to be the beams. Yep. So our pipes, steel pipes. And then our last manufacturer down here. So again, already getting the screws there. So this was just going to be the encased beams with an overflow in the middle. Next one's going to be overflow in the middle and steel pipes again. And then back down here to our last one. So that's overflow. And again, this is going to be the modular frames right there. All right. And then that leaves our last two down here, which are making, again, we're making more of the reinforced iron plates down here. So what this is going to be is we're going to throw, see, we're getting screws already. We just need the iron plates here on these last two. So iron plates with overflow in the middle, control copy, come down here, control V onto that one. All right, so that sets up all of the smart splitters down through here. So next up, just go ahead and, like I said on the other side, we want to make sure that these are connected to our actual lifts. And then, let's see, let's get this one here. And then connect them together like that to make an entire line down through here. And some of these ones that's kind of really tight together, just make sure to connect those up as well, like so. And since some of these are so close together that you can't get to the conveyor lifts that are behind them, to make sure you connect those up, we're just going to actually just walk around them here. So like that. And then we can just get in from the back. All in all, you just want to make sure that every single one of these smart splitters is connected to each other down the line and also into our conveyor lifts. And that completes all of our smart splitters down through here on the right hand side as well. Now, the next thing we're going to do is make sure that we have outputs for all of our assemblers. So like I said, these two are making our reinforced iron plates, which we're going to need on down the line. So they're going to need to connect into that line. So what we're going to do is go ahead and put our floor hose in all the way down through here in front of each of our assemblers. So just find the spot, put it right there as close as you can to it. Grab a conveyor lift. Make sure that's an output. Yeah, okay, so that should be good. And just connect that together like that. And we're going to do this to every single one of these all the way down the line. Place your floor hoe right in front of it. And grab your conveyor lift and attach. Once you have all the assemblers attached to the conveyor lifts going down, we're going to head back downstairs again underneath of us. So now that we're back down here on our logistics level, what we're going to do is come to our very first floor hoe right here for the output of our assemblers. We're going to grab a conveyor lift and we are going to turn that so that it is facing inwards like that, and do the same thing with this one, facing towards each other, just like that. And then we'll take and put in a merger right in between these two with the output facing towards us right here. So like that. And then just go ahead and connect these two up into that. Now we're going to do that with each of these sections. So we're going to end up with about 4 of these all the way down through here. So now that we have all of our assemblers upstairs coming down and then joining up via this merger right here, what we're going to do is then add another merger right here. But this one we're going to place right there on that line. And we're all going to have a line that's going to go down through here and connect all of these up. Like that. And the idea of what we're doing here is we're going to take all the parts that we're making upstairs and we're going to merge them all together into a line and then combine them down here at the very end so that they get into this line so that these machines can take the parts. Because the only way to get the modular frames like we're making up here into this line is we have to be all the way in the beginning, because we want the manufacturers to take them and we can't just like connect them in anywhere else except the beginning down here. So I'll just grab this again, bring it down here, put it on the line like that, and then connect that one to that, and then connect this one to this one, and then we're going to do this with each one of these. Alright, so now all the reinforced plates and all the modular frames that we are making are all going to come down this way. And we are going to then take these and we want to combine them into this one right here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of bring this out to say, right here is where I'll probably place the merger on this line right over there. We're going to bring it out to here and then just back it up by 2. And then grab a smart splitter, turn it into a merger, and place it in line with those right there. Bring this around, connect, and then connect these two into each other. There we go. Alright, so effectively, like I said, what we have, the reinforced plates are being made upstairs here. The modular frames are being made upstairs. They're all coming down, merging into these lines, which then again merge into this main line right here. Or technically this is a secondary line. And then coming down here, and it's going to merge into our main line. So it will combine up with our industrial beams and everything else we're going to be having coming down through here. That way the machines upstairs can get all the parts they need in order to make more parts that we're going to need. Alright guys, we've got the foundation for our building done. Our manufacturers are placed, our assemblers are placed, all of our logistics is in, including the logistics floor underneath of here. Everything is connected. But to continue from here, there's a lot more to do, and it's going to take a lot more time. And this video is somewhere already around the 40-minute mark or close to it. So I think it's best to break this into 2 different episodes. But no fear. I know usually there's a long pause between 2 different episodes, but I promise you I won't leave you hanging on this one. You may even have it by the weekend, as long as I can get everything done. But we are going to go ahead and end this for today and continue on. The next episode will be the bottom floor, where we're going to be doing the smelting and making our steel pipes, as well as our screws and anything else we're going to need down there. So until next time, guys, I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video, wherever you guys are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thanks for watching.